Lions back home this weekend to take on the Titans. Feels like it's been forever since they've been at Ford Field. Joined again by Mike Payton, A to Z Sports. Mike, for the second straight week, before we dive into the actual play on the field, we have something off the field to talk about. Last week was Aiden Hutchinson. This week, Jamison Williams. We'll start with this. Dan Campbell spoke this afternoon. What the heck is going on with Jamison Williams? Is he actually suspended? Are the Lions appealing the suspension? Maybe, nothing official has come down from the league yet. What the heck is going on there?
Well, so as of this time, he is not actually suspended by the NFL. As of right now, he's still an active player. He's at practice. Actually, as we speak, he's at practice. The right now where things are laying is that he's considering doing an appeal. If that is something he wants to do, he's got the next basically 4 days in which he can do it. And if the appeal goes through, then he will be not suspended anymore. And if it doesn't, then obviously he's going to have to do the 2 game suspension. So I think we'll probably find out relatively quickly as to what's going to happen. If I think there's a chance that if he decides to go through with the appeal, he could play Sunday, and then the suspension would be pressed over to the Packers and Texans game. But at this point, it's just a waiting game. It's what does Jameson want to do? Does he want to take the suspension or does he want to appeal?
We'll get into it a little bit more when we talk about the Titans, but might be worth it to just take the suspension instead of potentially losing him for Green Bay and Houston, a Texans team that the Lions probably can handle without him. But sticking with Williams, this is nothing new, obviously, and it's been well known, especially on social media, that contract talks are going to be coming up. That's not far away. How much does this affect where the Lions have their trust in Williams moving forward as one of these potential franchise cornerstones?
Well, Dan Campbell talked about that on Wednesday. He talked about at least the trust portion of it, where he went into it over and over again, reiterated it in a myriad of different ways, how much he does trust Jameson Williams. And I think there is a lot of trust there with Brad Holmes as well. I think that they've seen the growth that he has shown this year, and it's hard not to notice that. But with that in mind, this is still a business at the end of the day. And so far, Williams has been here 3 years. There's been numerous setbacks. I would love to see him get a huge deal, just like I'm sure every Lions fan would. But there's a good chance that with this suspension, if it goes through, if he does wind up missing these 2 games, maybe you have to start thinking about, well, maybe they don't extend him this offseason. Maybe they push it back to 2025 and they say, hey, JMO, we love you. Go out and show us that you could play a full year with no setbacks, no injuries, no suspensions, no fines, no nothing, and we will write you the fattest check that you've ever seen in your entire life. So right now, I'm sort of leaning more towards it's going to be 2025. And frankly, if I'm JMO, I would probably want to bet on myself because I know that at this point, I'm not going to get what I really, really want out of this offseason's extension. Go ahead and push me to 2025 and let me show you how good I am.
Mhm.
And then I get the huge deal. That's what I would do.
So maybe the Lions have him on Sunday, maybe they don't. For Jared Goff, the last 2 weeks, it really hasn't mattered who he's thrown the ball to. He has been phenomenal, to say the least. Great game on Sunday. I think it showed that the Vikings certainly are not a team to take lightly. They're, right up there with the best of the best in the NFC, but the best in the NFC is the Lions coming away with that win. No Aiden Hutchinson. The offense was great once again. Jake Bates, NFC special teams player of the week. Just, what were your overall impressions from the biggest win so far this season?
Well, I think, the Lions really showed that they are overcomers. And that's something that they've sort of gained in 2022 when they overcame this, massive losing streak at the beginning of the season. And then 2023, they showed it a little bit more. But you really saw it in this game. They had a horrific start with
Mhm.
2 sacks, or excuse me, 1 sack and 2 holding penalties that just pushed them back on that first drive. Then they failed on that fourth down conversion, fake punt, and then immediately let in a 25-yard touchdown run right after that. And it seemed like, okay, this is going to be one of those long days, but they overcame that, got right back into it. rattled off 21 unanswered points. And then another huge moment at the end of the game when they do let the Vikings back in. Vikings get that fumble return for the touchdown. I think old Lions teams probably would have lost that game. I think it's fair to say
Yeah.
that. But this team just doesn't do it. And Campbell said it in the locker room afterward. They're so hardened to these moments where it's just like these things happen and they don't think twice about it. They don't bat an eye. They don't say, well, geez, we're going to have to overcome this. They just do it. And I think, I think we were all had our heart beating a little bit on that last drive for the Lions, but at the same time, there was a level of comfort there.
Mm-hmm.
You had seen how good Goff had been playing well lately, and you just kind of knew he was going to get down there, and they did.
Do you think is this the best Goff has ever played in a Lions uniform? Detroit, the first team ever in NFL history over the 4 week span to have more touchdowns and incompletions, which that stat just blew my mind. But that's how good the offense has been here for the last couple weeks, and especially since coming out of the bye week.
Yeah, I think this is the best he's ever played in the NFL, period. And I wrote something earlier this week that may have been a little bit hyperbolic, but I compared him to Tom Brady, just in the sense that I think in the play style where you want the ball in his hands, that he's cool and calm and collected. He's dead-eyed right now, and I think there are some parallels there. Tom obviously had the benefit of being on a really great team right away, but didn't win his first MVP till he was 30 years old. Jared Goff just turned 30 years old, playing the best football of his career. I don't know, man. Maybe. Who knows? Like, I'm not saying that Goff is Tom Brady, but I am saying there's a trajectory there that's somewhat similar in terms of individual play. And I just think he is on an unbelievable heater right now. And if he keeps playing like this, you can't not give him the MVP at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Lions fans will always take a comparison to Tom Brady because it'd be hard to have any negative comparisons in there. And sticking with the offense, the rushing attack has been so good this season. But coming into this Sunday, what's the latest update on David Montgomery? Do you think he'll be good to go against the Titans?
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. He did practice today, Wednesday, and earlier in the week, Dan Campbell said that he would be fine, and it was just kind of a situation where a guy's knee landed on the back of his knee, and it's more of a bruise than anything. So there's no tears, there's no structural damage. He should be good to go in this game.
And then on the defensive side of things, less than 2 weeks now until the trade deadline. We had the first game without Hutchinson, the first full game, and it's clear the pass rush wasn't as good as it's been. Not that anyone expected it to be, with possibly the best rusher in the league out for the season, but Dan Campbell has been very open and honest about that this team is exploring the market, trying to see what's going on. He even said himself that he's recommended a few guys to Brad Holmes. What did you see out of the pass rush on Sunday, and do you think it may be even more solidified to the front office that they do need to make a move before the November 5th deadline?
Yeah, I think it's pretty evident that they need some help. I think later in the game on Sunday, you did start to see a little pass rush start to come up. You saw guys like Trevor Nowaski and Isaac Ukwu and Josh Pascal start to step up a little bit. But it's all manufactured at this point. You're not getting like a genuine pass rush. You're scheming a pass rush at this point. So yeah, I think they definitely need somebody. Whether or not that's going to happen this week, kind of seems like it's not. I would look more towards next week when you're pushing up against the deadline. You've got a huge game against Green Bay. I would definitely expect the Lions to make a move next week, more than I would this week.
And then sticking with the defensive side of things, another week, another great game from Branch. What has been the biggest difference in your opinion from his game coming into this season, and just what has made him such an anchor on that defense through the first half of the season?
Well, last year we knew that he could be sticky as a slot corner. We knew he would be able to stay with guys and he could maybe get some pass breakups. This year he's become a ball hawk all of a sudden. Like he's got 4 interceptions. He's getting better every week. He's coming out of flying through the air and making these unbelievable picks. And and pass breakups, and he's also showing that versatility that really made him one of the big draft assets coming into that draft, where it's like this guy, he could play corner, he could play slot, he could play safety, he could just do everything. And the Lions are using him to do everything. And it's still just crazy that this guy he went to the second round. Everyone knew he was one of the best defensive players in this draft, and for some reason he just fell to the Lions, and the Lions are just, I mean, loving it. It's paying off in spades at this point.
So coming into this Sunday, you have a Titans game that is sandwiched in between two big division games. In my opinion, this is the first Lions game this year where you're probably not heavily concerned at all by the opponent. It's a Titans team that has looked pretty bad for a majority of the season. Will Levis is, not on the progression that the Titans hoped he would be. DeAndre Hopkins going to Kansas City today, so they don't have to worry about him at all. The defense has had its moments, but do the Titans, it's the NFL. Any team can beat any team in any given week. But, do the Titans pose any bit of a threat? Is this a trap game that the Lions could maybe overlook Tennessee before another big division game next week?
Yeah, I think that, and I keep going back to like the old Lions versus the current Lions, new Lions, but like I think the old Lions may have overlooked this game,
Hmm.
but I think this current Lions team really, it's in their DNA to kind of look at every single game as if it's, a really tough team. I know Campbell all week, whether it's, an oppressor or a radio hit, he has talked about how good he thinks this Tennessee defense is. So he has put a lot of stock into the idea that, these guys they can catch you. They can catch you sleeping, and you have to be on your P's and Q's against a team like this. And I think he's right. I mean, the Titans have the 11th best defensive DVOA right now. There was sneaky good defense. And I know they just traded Ernest Jones, a starting linebacker, today as well, as their trade of Hopkins. But guys like Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry and L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, these are some really good defensive players. I would not be shocked if they put up quite a fight.
And assuming that Williams is not going to be playing, obviously a lot could change on that before Sunday. Amon-Ra is going to, get even more press than he normally does. But who do you expect to step up against that Titans defense in possibly replacing JMO?
Well, I think you can get a lot of the speed out of Khalif Raymond, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they made Isaiah Williams a preseason standout if he was active in this game. He's been on the roster the whole year, hasn't been active yet. So I think you can get a lot of speed and yards after the catch out of both those guys. Campbell did say today that we were going to see a lot of Allen Robinson, former Pro Bowler for the Jags, Bears, like a really good receiver at one point in time. So we should expect to see more of him. Tim Patrick is obviously getting, more and more looks every week. It's been a tremendous blocker for this team. So they love they say no block, no rock. So he's been blocking a lot. So I would imagine he's going to get some more targets coming his way. So they've got options. They've got plans. There's a lot of things they can do. They can also use Jahmyr Gibbs in the pass game as well. Sione Vaki is somebody that in the preseason and at training camp, they did a lot of passing to him. I would not be shocked if maybe we seen a little bit more of him coming into this game. So yeah, I think there's a lot they can do to sort of get over that loss of JMO, at least for a week.
Do you see a world where this game could potentially be close down the wire? How do you see this game unfolding? And you've picked the Lions every week so far this year, and that's gone great. I can't imagine you're going any different this week.
No, I'm not. They just traded away their top receiver. They're going to be starting a backup quarterback. I do think that defensively they are a good team and will be able to give the Lions some trouble. But I think the Lions run away with this thing. I'm thinking 35-10, a Lions win, and they move on to a huge game against Green Bay in Lambeau.
All right, nice to have them back home. Lions looking to go 6-1 and stay in first place in the NFC North. Mike, appreciate you joining us, and we'll catch up next week before, like you said, another big one here in NFC North play.
Absolutely. We'll see you then.